Hello and welcome. So we're going to move everything to Redux. Now it's going to take a moment, but open up your terminal and let's get started on it. Let's split the terminals and let's cd into client. That's where we need to put all of the Redux things we're going to make right now. Just yarn add Redux. After that, we're adding Redux Dev Tools extension. After that, let's do Redux thunk, and let's also do React Redux. All right, so we're set up to start our Redux. We'll go into our client, go into src, and in here make a new folder called Redux. In Redux, we're going to have two folders. Let's do actions, and we also want reducers. Perfect. Now, outside of these folders, we're going to do that work first. Outside of these folders, we're going to need a store and a root reducer. Let's start with the store, store.js. Now, import. We're going to import quite a few things here. So create, you know what, it might be quicker to do like this, from Redux, create store, and apply middleware. Perfect. We need to import compose with, with is capital, sorry, with Dev Tools, all camel case, perfect. From Redux Dev Tools extension, import thunk from Redux thunk, and we need to import the root reducer into here. Let's just do it now and we'll make it in a sec. Let's import the root reducer from, it'll be in the same, it'll be right here, and we'll name it root reducer. Perfect. So obviously this will not work right now, so it will not run. Const middlewares is going to be equal. Now this has to be an array, even though we're just putting one thing in there. The middleware is going to be thunk. Export const store. So this is the store that we're exporting. We need to use the create store function, and we need to give it two things. The root reducer, that's where we'll hold all of our reducers. And again, we'll go over that in a moment. And our compose with dev tools, that'll make it easier for us to follow the state, and apply middleware. And inside apply middleware, we're going to spread all the middlewares like so. Perfect. And let's actually just export default store. Let's get rid of this. Export default store. That works for me. All right, so we know from here we're going to need a root reducer. So let's make that next. So in Redux, root reducer.js. Now our root reducer is going to take all the reducers we have in our project and make them into one root reducer. And that might not make a ton of sense if this is all new to you, so just follow along and hopefully the picture starts to clear itself up. Combine reducers from Redux. We're going to need to give it a reducer as well. So let's import the first reducer that we'll make. The first reducer we'll make is going to be called the authReducer, and it will be the only reducer we should be making today. So it'll be in the reducers folder, and it'll be called the authReducer. Perfect. So now const root reducer. It's going to equal combine reducers, and then all the reducers we want to combine. And we could do name and then the reducer. I'm just going to call them what I call them. So authReducer will just be authReducer. No need to do authReducer like so. So we'll do that. We have our authReducer in there, even though it doesn't exist yet. And let's export default, rootReducer. Okay, now let's make our authReducer. Let's go into reducers, and we'll make one called authReducer.js. Now in here, we're going to make an initial state. So this is what a reducer is going to look like. Const initial state. So in initial state, I'm going to make it all capital. That's normal. So initial state, and it'll be an object. It's going to have a user object. We'll put all the user info in there, and we're going to spread all the user info as well. You could change this in your own app, but right now I just want to have it everywhere. So I'll have the ID, I'll have the email, I'll have the clearance. We made clearance levels. And one more value called logged on. So we can kind of just check this to see if, ooh, I put false, logged on, false. So we can kind of just check this to see if the user has any information. So if logged on is true, there should be a clearance level, there should be an email. So we could kind of check that as a nice little toggle for us. Is this user logged on, or are they using this site without any clearance levels or being logged on? All right, so const authReducer, since that's what we're making, it's going to equal, and we need to have state, and with that always equals at the beginning is initial state, and then we change it. And we're going to pass in the action. Now, the action is something we're getting from our action creators, which we'll create next. So I'm going to take two things off of the action creator. The action creator gives us a type, and it gives us a payload. So if you wonder why I did the error handling before I did this, is I wanted to go over switch statements, so this makes a little more sense. So we have type and payload coming off the action. So imagine the action being an object with type and then a value, and payload and then a value. And the payload value can be an entire object as well. It could have many different values inside of it, but the type should be one thing that triggers our switch statement. So let's do our switch statement. So switch, and what we'll do is we'll switch over type, and we'll have cases. Our first case will be, let's do sign underscore up, and sign up will return. And now we have to define the state that it returns. It's going to return the state as it is, and then all the things that should change. So let's do logged on. That's going to be true if they're logged on. Let's do ID. That will be payload dot underscore ID. That's what will come back from the MongoDB database there. The email, that will be payload dot email. And what do we have? Clearance, right? Clearance will be payload dot clearance. Perfect. So we have ID, email, clearance logged in, and user, we'll put that at top. So the user is going to be payload. So it's going to have the entire user object in user. In case we add some stuff later and it winds up not being placed here, we could find it in the user and update our reducer to include it. So that's how that is working so far. So we have an authReducer, and it's just doing sign up right now. It's going to take in a action. The action holds a type that we have in our switch statement. So if it gets the type sign up, it's going to have a payload that has the user object on it. And we're going to be able to pull the user object into our initial state user. That'll be the entire payload. And then we're going to be able to pull the user's ID, the user's email, and the user's clearance off of the payload as well, just in a more specific manner. So let's go over to our actions now. We need to at least make one auth action for this sign up so that this starts to make a little more sense here. authActions.js. Now in authActions, I want to do something very important on top. Let's import API from, and that was in our utils, so dot dot, we're gonna go to utils, and then API. So yeah, that's how we reach our API. That's how we were making our API calls before. And I want to import that here because we're going to be making our API calls from this file rather than the other file we were working in. Now let's export const. And if you haven't done this before, it's going to look a little different than a normal function. So we have sign up user. I wanted to take an email. I wanted to take a password. And I also need to give it an async dispatch. Because anything async needs that async dispatch. So with that set up, we have to bring in the function we already, oh, I'm sorry, not yet. Now, with that set up, we have to bring in the function that we already have for sign up user. Let's go over to our auth page and auth and go to sign up user. And we can see we have a try catch, copy that, go to auth actions and just paste it in. So this is everything that we need to do to sign up a user. It's right in here and it's done properly. Now we need to create an action. So we'll need to dispatch one from here. So after we get a result and it does not throw an error, we want to dispatch the action. So dispatch, and that's what we wrote up here. This is what dispatch is for. So dispatch, and make yourself an object inside of there and write type, and this is going to be the type. And we called it sign up, that'll be the type. And then we need a payload. So the payload should be res.data. And remember we were doing the message when we were doing error handling. What I want to do now is to get the user. So res.data.user. And we'll get our user information to our authReducer. So we'll send that over to there. Now, this is undefined, sign up. So that's one more portion of Redux that isn't very complicated. So the reason sign up would be undefined now is it's a variable and we didn't define it anywhere. So we easily could do something like this instead, but we are supposed to make a types file and keep all our types in there to make sure everything is correct, because we'll be using these types in several different places and it could cause a headache if we have a small typo. So come out of this for a moment. We have our actions. We have our reducers. Now we just want to make in here a types.js. And we're going to just export some const. So export const sign up is going to equal sign up, the string. So that's how we're going to get that const there, which means we're going to need to import it into our reducer and into our action. Let's do our action first. Let's import sign up from types. All right, so we have sign up in here. We're set up there. Let's do the same thing for our reducer. Sign up as types. Perfect. So now we know when we get the case sign up, which equals sign up as a string, this is what it's going to do. So that's a lot of setup, and it's honestly not finished yet. State management is a bit of a pain, but we're getting there. We're getting pretty close now. We have our root reducer. It is attached to our authReducer. We have our auth actions, and it is calling our authReducer, and it is calling our API and then dispatching this call to the authReducer. So it looks like we're pretty set there, but our app doesn't have the store yet. The store was the first thing that we made here, and this needs to be moved into the app. So we need to go to App.js and work on it there. So App.js, let's go right to the top. I'm going to make this the second thing. We're going to import provider, and it's capital. It's a capital provider from, that should be React Redux. It is. Perfect. Now, you could wrap this around the entire app here. You want to write provider, and you want to pass it in a store. Now, this isn't writing enough. We have to point to the store itself. Store is the store. And now provider knows where to get all of its information from. We'll copy this down, we'll paste it here, and we've surrounded it with provider. Let's see where we are now. Let's see if we have any errors in this. That was a lot to do pretty quickly, so we might, but let's see what we have. We'll yarn here. I'm going to yarn here just in case as well. Okay. Yarn run dev. Let's see what we got. And it looks like we broke it because of the simplest thing. I never imported the store, so import store from /redux/store. Perfect. The authReducer does not contain a default export. Import as authReducer. Let's see that. Oh, that's true. Let's do that quick. Export default and authReducer. Okay, now what we have authReducer returned undefined during initially. Okay, let's see what I did wrong there. Let's see what I did there. Oh, okay. This switch statement doesn't have a default. Let's just fix that up real quick. That's in the switch. That's under this. Default return state. And we're working again. Yeah, it is quite a bit of putting in some code, and look at that, I made 3 different mistakes. So this does take a moment to get into your app. If you make a few mistakes, it's normal, everyone does it. Just go with it. Now what I want to do here is use this first action that we made in authActions. It's called sign up user, and here's how we use it. We're going to the src, to auth page, to auth.js. And let's import that action. Let's import sign up user from, and let's find it. So that was up 1, then Redux, then actions, auth actions. So we have sign up user here. We're going to need one more thing. So just import, it's called use dispatch. We're going to need that. That's from React Redux. From React Redux, perfect. Now we're just going to configure that real quick. So const dispatch, not use dispatch, don't let them auto-correct that for you, will equal use dispatch, the function. Okay, so that's set up now. Now this clearance that we have here, I'm going to get rid of that. We don't need it anymore. Now this sign up user, I'm going to get rid of that. We don't need it anymore either, because we're bringing in that sign up user call right here. Now we know that clearance isn't working. Where else is it? Right here. Let's get rid of that. Now, what we have to do in order to sign up this user is dispatch the function. So we want to dispatch. And we're doing this because we're dispatching a function from Redux. So we're calling dispatch, and then we're dispatching the function from Redux. And there we are. So on submit should be working. I seem to have the word clearance here one more time. That's 737. Oh, I see. It's in auth actions right here. Auth actions clearance here. Let's get rid of you. Perfect. And you saw that we did that to do our blacklist. We had our whole clearance thing set up there. So blacklist that word. But we had to take it out. And now it is working. We can sign up a new user. Let's see if we actually can do that. That was a lot of code without much testing. Let's call them a@a.com. And let's give them a password and sign up. That worked perfectly. Yes, it did. Look at that. We have our status success. We have our token. We have our token up here. Our cookie is in use. The JWT, perfect. So that is working. Our sign up user works properly through Redux. Let's quickly move the other ones in and finish this up. So we have our auth actions. We'll need sign up, we'll need log in, and we'll need log out. So those are the 3 things that we'll need: log in, log out. Save that there. Let's go over to the types, put them there. I'll just paste these down. And the next one will be log in. The next one will be log out. All right, so we have them in our types, we have them in our actions. Let's put them in our reducer. Log in, log out. Perfect. Now in our auth actions, let's handle these first. So it's a lot of them, they're going to be almost exactly the same as sign up user because we need to do this whole dispatching sequence after the function. So after we have the function here, we're going to point to the async dispatch in all of them. So here we go on login. And I'll close this and we'll grab our login function from auth. Login user, everything in the try catch, copy it and comment this out. We no longer need it. Perfect. Now we have to do this portion, this dispatch. So let's write it from scratch one more time. Let's dispatch type login and payload will be res.data.user. Right now, this does bug me a little bit because we're going to do this login, and it's actually going to do the same exact thing that sign up does, but I'm going to keep it like this just in case in the future we don't want them to do the same exact thing. I'm going to have a login and a sign up. I think I'm better off that way. And we'll dispatch type login. That is capital because of how I named it. This should be login user, just like we had it before. Okay, and then type login. Yes, this looks right now. So let's do this again. Well, for log out. So log out user. Let's close up the function, open it up a bit, and get the log out user function. If you remember where it is, it's in the header. So one of the best things about this is being able to move everything off of these pages and together in one action creator. And remember, we need it from try to catch. There we go. Let's put that in there. Save that up. And we're hitting the logout. We don't need the email or password for logout. And we do need to dispatch, because when the person logs out, we want to get rid of all of their information that's in our state of our app here. So let's do a dispatch. And we'll do a type log out, and a payload will be res. Actually, you know what? If we're logged out, I really don't want any information. So this is a cool example of what we could do with this sort of thing. If we have a type of logout, we don't need to get anything back from the result of this function at all. It doesn't much matter. If we get anything back at all, we could just log out, and we could actually just get rid of the res altogether. It doesn't matter. Perfect. So there's our logout function. Now let's head back into, where's our auth? There it is, into our auth. We have to do the same dispatch now that we're using Redux. So in our else, we will dispatch perfect. Now that's set up. Now remember, our header is going to need that too, and this is good practice. So import use dispatch from React Redux. Perfect. And we'll just make that the first thing. Const dispatch equals use dispatch. Perfect. Now we have our dispatch for our logout user. We no longer need this here because we have it in Redux. When we actually do our logout user, oh, I see. We actually did it inline like this. So this is a good example of how to do it inline. All you have to do is dispatch for here instead. And you know what? I think we should probably just move get secret there too, just so it's all together, even though get secret really doesn't matter for our app. Dispatch and get secret as well. And we need to bring those in. So let's import get secret, and the other one was logout user from Redux, and then actions, and then authActions. Perfect. So we'll get rid of this too. And now we have all of our functions in the same spot. We no longer need an API here. That's true. Let's get rid of that. Perfect. Let's move over now to, oh, hold on. Get secret is not, oh, that's true. Let's move get secret into Redux as well. authActions, export const, and then get secret async. We shouldn't need to dispatch anything for get secret because we're not going to take any data from that. So this is fine the way it is right now. Login user is not defined in auth page, auth. Login user. Oh, yeah. Right here. Looks like we have everything except for the authReducer now. Let's head into there. We have login, log out, but we don't really do anything. The one thing I want to do is this. It's really just copy and paste here. So just copy and paste your way through here. The case is going to be log in. And it's going to do the exact same thing. And then we're going to have log out. So let's do that. We could do that from scratch, just case. Log out. Okay. Return, and then what we're going to return. What we're going to return is the state being the initial state. So before the user logged in and we got all the info, this is the state that we want to return when we see the log out. Now, we're going to test this all out with this right here. This is Redux Dev Tools. It's really easy to get with Chrome. You could just put it in your Chrome browser. It'll be here or it'll be in here. You'll have your Redux Dev Tools. I'm going to open mine up to the right and just see what I have here. Right now I have an authReducer. I can see I have user ID, email, clearance, logged on. That's great. That's what I want. That's everything that I said was my initial state. And now what I need to do is log someone on. So let's log someone on. How about, what did we do? User1. User.com, why don't you log on? And we did log on. Let's see what our state looks like now. And here is our state. Now we have a user with all the info in it. We have an ID, email, clearance, and logged on all set right here. So we can see our sign in state, our log out state. So let's do state, perfect. Let's do a sign up. I'm actually worried about that. Okay, there must be something a little wrong here. I'm going to sign up a user, let's say 5. I see. Okay, yes, we are having a little issue, and I see what it is. Yep, when I went to log out, I returned state, initial state, and that makes very, very little sense. We shouldn't be returning an object with state, initial state, because that's not what this is. What we need to return is just initial state and not even an object. So this. There we are. Okay, let's try this one more time. I'm going to log in as user1. User1.com, and okay. I'm logged in. That worked properly. This is how the state should look. Let's log out. Let's hopefully it doesn't make us another state. No, it doesn't. It went back to the initial state. Now when I sign up user10, everything looks proper. This is how it should look. Okay, great. So that was one mistake here. Just take one more look at it. If you wrote what I wrote in log out, this is what needs to be there. It's even shorter. So So that is set up. That's moving everything to Redux now. I'm going to clean this up a little bit more, but I'm ready to use this on a project. And if you want to go to some of the other videos we're doing some really, really cool stuff. So check some of the new stuff out. If there's anything that you want to go over, you want to request, let me know. I'll see if I have any expertise in it and can make some sort of series out of it. All right, thanks for being with me on this one. You did an amazing job on this, and this will be so helpful moving into the future every time you make an app. I hope to see everyone on the next video. Thanks.